Testing, 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 testing all the way. And then when horse open sleigh, over the fields we go, laughing all the way. Caramba. I can't even do that. My voice is still very, like, you can hear the, let me breathe out. Sorry about that. Anyways, long story short, first carbonated beverage of the day, actually of several days. Man, this is gonna feel good on my throat. You guys might be wondering, Alex, why are your knuckles so dirty? They're not. It's swelling. That's basically dry skin, and then what's called plaques. When I have an autoimmune reaction, I also get the chubby face and cheeks like really acting up, water retention, and the joints get swollen. So I just thought I'd let you know why I'm looking and probably sounding a bit like my nose is plugged. But how are we doing? I wanted to where am I from? Seattle, Washington. Perfect time to do some tank maintenance. Right on. Well, do the tank maintenance, all the tank maintenance you got to do. I'll just talk into your ear. Sweet nothings. Now, today, as all live streams, now I have I don't know, maybe 6 people lined up to be guests on streams, actually. And people are kind of I guess they're lined up to be guests, and it's just a matter of like, let's do it this day versus that day, and if they want, what day works out for them. And for me, I basically said we can stream on any day. It doesn't matter if we stream on Tuesdays and Fridays strictly, but I would like a day or two's notice to let folks know. But I am going to have Indian people. Hello, Indian people. Come on in. Indian people, great. There's not one type of any Indian people. There are many. I mean, there's 270 languages or something within the modern day boundaries of India. So I mean, even within like the massive nationalism. You've got like the Punjab, you've got the Himalayan and the Indo-Asiatic, Proto-Aryan, if you want to call them that, northern, lighter-skinned, fair people, and then you got the Nepalese and like Tibetan, like mountainous tribes, and then you got like, people all the way down to like Goa and Sri Lanka and such a huge place. I mean, I'd love to see it all. I'd love to see it all. Yes, exactly. Prodigal Aquarius. We're all cousins here. Aspirants, love for all, hatred for none. That is very true. Yes. And, we usually talk about aquarium stuff here, and I'm happy to answer any questions or thoughts you guys have. I had a couple ideas of things I wanted to mention today, and one of them is, I'll just put it on the screen. Let's fire it up. Let's fire up the dream screen machine team beam sleem. That's not a word. Alex, stop making words up. Let's see here. I've got it hidden, and it's cute to play. So I wanted to talk about some of the things that we are probably going to see a big uptick in the next few months or even year, but I think really within the next few months, there's a few trends that I've noticed are definitely going to be popular fish-wise. Hey, Shabby, thanks for being polite in the chat. Appreciate it. As long as everybody, as long like you said, like spamming, we can bounce. I don't care if people swear. I don't care what people say or do, as long as it's respectful and not like racist or no hate towards uh obviously religion, politics, gender, any of that stuff. I don't want to, I don't, just take it somewhere else. But yeah, we got if folks want to come in and hang out, it looks like a bunch of people did just show up. I don't know what happened. Maybe YouTube just showed the stream somewhere like on a featured page. I have no idea. But long story short, I was gonna say I think there's a few fish that are gonna take off in popularity, and that always happens. Like the CPD for a long time. Then there was chili raspboras. Then there was flower horns. Like there's been this continuous like new fish after new fish after new fish that keeps people's attention. You know, a couple years ago, what was trending really big was a Hellboy bettas, or getting a black female betta and a all white male betta, or vice versa, or getting those samurai bettas. And so, yeah, kind of interesting what's popular and what is and isn't popular. But I want to show you real quick before we do any questions or anything. I wanted to show you something that just caught my eye that was posted. Mutual friend on Facebook posted it. Some of you guys have probably already seen it too. But here, let's just go ahead and share it. Oliver Knott posted it. And let's see. Play. Boy, that's bad quality. Is that coming through? Pretty bad quality, dang. What those are, though, is those are little albino and piebald hillstream loaches. So like the butterfly loach. Now they are most likely, from what he was guessing, probably Bufortia quichoensis, but I don't think they are that, honestly. I think that they might be they don't look like a gastromyzon exactly to me, but I think they might be one of the other like he wrote lower down, one of the other Bufortia type loaches. But they're a little bigger. They're bigger, and it says that these are wild caught from Guangzhou hillstream loaches, which is interesting. Southwest China is where these are from, right? But some of these I like had to stop and look at, and I was looking at them, and I was really like doing a double take because some of them, if we can, where's that spot in the video? Yeah, here, this one here, that one there, I think that looks beautiful on its own. Now that's pretty close to wild markings, I think, and I'm not clear that this is even one species. And he says that these are all wild caught, but that again catches, it doesn't ring true to me, because like, how did you end up with so many albinos unless these are in a cave system, which also is very possible in that China has the largest cave system in the world. It's like over 7,000 miles of these like Swiss cheese limestone connected waterways, with now over 47 endemic species to this cave system, and it runs. I think we looked it up recently. Here, let's do this again. Let's look up the limestone underground cave complex map, Hunan, China. I know it's not just Hunan province, but what's incredible, if I pull this up, you'll see like some of the karst limestone caves. And obviously in Laos in Vietnam, they found some of these giant sinkholes where the top collapses in. Like here's from an actual research paper. Here's How's that showing up for you guys? That, yeah, it's showing up okay. So where you end up seeing like a little hole and it looks like it just drops down into nothingness. But it could be as much as a mile down, or, you know, like 3,000, 4,000 feet down, 5,000, 6,000 feet down from the top of these mountain tops and hills and things. And it can look really incredible. There's a couple places in China in particular where these, like there's one in China where there's this massive sinkhole and all around the edge. I think you can see it here. There's like a boardwalk and you could it laps the entire thing, but you can walk down in this spiral fashion all the way down into the sinkhole. And at the bottom there's like trees that are unique to that one sinkhole. And then the way it connects, like in this map here, the way it connects to all the other stuff underground, you may have this open sinkhole here, and it may be even open like in these pictures. And I wonder if maybe there aren't predators. And this is probably Turkey, I would guess, here. Or maybe not. I guess this could be Guyana too. Actually, I don't know. It could also be Bangladesh or Assam, India. But you see these are called karst pillars, and they're limestone, and you can see how everything but these stone spears that are 100 feet or 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5, 600 feet. And they're like fins. They're like, it's like a real life maze that's made for a giant, the size of the Empire State Building. And there's different jungles all in between. And a lot of these valleys and waterways and things, maybe the waterways connect because it's pretty hard to stop water over a long time period. But you'll stop the creatures like geckos and chameleons and things like that. And like in Africa, they find in these kind of karst badlands, they'll find unique chameleons on Madagascar and in Africa within each of these kind of like little sub-regions. And we're finding now fish that are in these regions. So this is China, apparently. This is Shailin, China, is what we were looking at, according to the rest of these very poor quality pictures. But yeah, here is the famous one. I figure I'll show you guys this while we're talking about it. But there's a lot of science coming out, and one of the many things I've been wanting to talk about in an episode is all the weirdo fish that they're finding here in the stone forest region and in these underwater lakes. But those albino little hill stream loaches, they come from a region like this in China. And so I don't know which exact species they are. And if you've been to Thailand, you know that these same geologic, like these spires and stone things, they occur. Not only do rivers cut through, these areas, but also cut under them because they are basically it's not a whole lot stronger than sandstone or like chalk, and water just carves right through it. It's very beautiful, but you'll see that even in 100 years, like a picture from like 1920 or something, right? You'll see a waterfall in these regions, and you'll see that it has moved back like 100 or 200 feet in as many years, which is wild. Like to have things like that occurring on a human lifespan scale, where someone's grandpa could tell you like that waterfall has receded because of like it's actually carving away at the mountainside so quickly that every year, another foot, it goes another foot back, receding. Pretty cool. Hello, everybody in the chat also. Randall, Ben, good to see you. And thank you so much for those 2 years and a month joining us. I mean, it means anything anytime y'all join up with the channel, really does. But you know, a special howdy to you at the 2 year and a month mark. Thanks for saying hi. Also, Stephen P, good to see you, man. Always good to see you putting the hammer down on anybody who's spamming the chat, causing problems. Let's see here. Callie Caulfield, what's going on? Hope you're doing well. Guppy Fever Mike, what's up? Chevy Fish, I know I said hi already, but hello again. And then Lovis28, hello. And Airbone, Air in Bone, hello. That's an interesting handle. Also, Robert J. Clary, what's up, my man? Bambi McCluskey. We got what is it? Sheriff McCluskey sitting on a stump, handle pulled back on a 12 gauge pump, looking over the swamp, gonna wander him in. Not, he went on. Oh, and he went on in, but he never come out again. Well, wonder where the Louisiana sheriff went to. Easy get lost in Louisiana Bayou. Hello, new member. Right on. Welcome. Come on in. The water is fine. The water is fine. We got two new member alerts because we got you in apparently we have you in the upright chat and the sideways chat, the strike the pose. Those of you on mobile device and just scrolling in the live stream, seeing what's going on, welcome and hello. And so come on in. The water is fine. We have all urinated in it, but it's still fine. And Joe DP, I see the name. Sometimes different, like if I log in on the computer versus on my phone versus if I'm out in the wild on someone else's stream and see people in chat, I see people's handles. Sometimes I see their email, sometimes I see their name, and sometimes I see like old handles that they're like, I haven't used that name in many moons, and I'll say it and they're like, where are you reading that? So I have no idea why all that happens. Randall Ben going into podcast mode. You know, a lot of these live streams I've been trying to keep I'm trying to stay conscious of that. You know, obviously if we look at stuff, I'll let folks know, like, oh, hey, I'm gonna pull that up and you'll hear in the discussion. If you want to come back later and be like, what was that fish they were talking about? But if you just want to, you know, listen to the daily vibe, to the conversation, to the tips, tricks, and the news and research and things like that going on that I like to banter about on live, yeah, enjoy. You don't need to watch. You can just listen, and you can put it in, save yourself some data and put it in upright mode. All right, what else? I Keeps Fish, hello. Most entertaining fish stream out there. Well, thank you so much. I think that there are many streams that are far more versatile and active than I am. Very beautiful natural streams out there. Uncle Smiley's Aquariums, what's up? And Foxy's Fishes, so good to see you. Also, JP Jeffries, good to see you too. Good to see you though. And then Jan, what's up? Good to see you. Flipped over to the stream. Oh, who is? Somebody probably is streaming right now that I probably went right over, but because I've been so sick, congested, and getting tired really easily, like you guys might see me start to fade at some point during this stream. I'm still sick. I can't believe how long this crap has lasted. But you know, life is trending up, or rather, it is continuing. Life is continuing. But I did want to mention something about fish farms. Techno Allah, what's up, man? We got a lot of people coming through here. Hi, Elite Menageries. Also, we got a lot of people in here that I haven't seen in a while. Loretta Jackson, what's up? Listening while you're at work? Okay. I'll try to be quiet while you work. Good Gamer Aquatics, hello. Listening. Yeah, dang, we got a lot of my favorite people in here. I'm so happy to see y'all. you know, we can also, if you want, I'm letting my phone charge just a little bit more. Hey George, what's up, brother? I need to hit you up about those rice fish. I saw your videos and pictures you sent me of all the different beautiful rice fish. Said you have over 500 now, or never mind. I won't disclose what I was gonna say actually about what you've set up with, and it wasn't that. It was an amount, a monetary amount. But in my head, for some reason, I was thinking 500 unique fish, like different baby fish. And I don't know where that number came from nowhere apparently. And then Christopher Allen just found a vintage Metaframe 10-gallon on marketplace, current resealing, any period accurate stocking suggestions. Oh, you got me. You got me in my special place. You tickled me in the spot where I'm like, that's not funny. Stop. I'm serious now. Stop tickling me. Stop, it hurts. And you pee yourself a little, and then you actually, like your older, you know, cousins or siblings or whoever it is, it's just tickling you and bugging you, and you're like, I'm mad. I'm like really mad. It's not funny anymore, and you like are still laughing, and you're like, it hurts so much. Stop tickling me. When you're a little kid. Anyways, no, anyone else? No one. Okay, all right, just me. All right, just talking to myself. But you got me in one of my one of the little niches that I like a lot in the hobby, which is talking about what fish would have been in Europe or America in a fish tank in a given year. It's a very nerdy exercise. I know it is. But looking at fish magazines, fish books, you know, aquarium guides, things like that from different eras, you know that there were trends, just like we're talking about today, the albino and piebald, which is a topic I want to pick back up, where we were talking about the video I showed you guys of those beautiful hill stream loaches, but why I'm really questioning what's going on with them, and if it has to do with the cave system. And I never even pulled up a map of the cave system. I'm all over the place mentally right here. But what I was gonna say is a Metaframe 10-gallon. So that could be from a lot of different periods, but I'm going to guess that it's probably a early 60s, a 50s, or a 40s. That's what a lot of them, most of them are from. If it has a slate bottom, one cool fact about that is that actually harkens from the era, like way back in the day, when they would use oil lamps, or sometimes they would use other types of heat, but they actually used fire under aquariums, if you look early on. And, you know, to one degree, a lot of times they were oil lamps, and in the sense that they would burn kind of a low blue flame. And then they'd have one of those, or they'd have kind of a what looks like in the old pictures. I have them in books and in like I have old photograph clip or newspaper clippings and stuff that I could edit into a video someday. But what I was gonna say is, you can see they have like this kind of thing. It looks like a valve, like a pipe that looks like a flute or something with holes in it, and then the little blue flames come out of that, and it's an attachment you hook up to what it would have been at the time, like a lamp or a small, almost like when you heat food with the little sterno. But they would put that under your actual aquarium, and because you're not going to like boil your fish in any hurry, especially with the bottom being made of stone, which conducts heat pretty poorly. It does, though, eventually conduct that heat at a pretty even pace up into the water. And then you got sand or something on top of that in between, buffering for the heat. It actually works as a pretty darn good way to, during the day, you would turn that on even before electricity in some cases, or where they just, you know, people forget. People think that by 1920, everyone had electricity in America, right? Or by 1940, but there were a ton of places out in the country where people still would go into town, or maybe their neighbors have electricity, or the people on a different road have it or whatever, but maybe they still have outhouses, they still have the water they have to pump, maybe the wells on their property are shared with a few neighbors. And a lot of times electricity wasn't to every building, especially on like farms and stuff, especially in the South with sharecropping. A lot of times there were kind of the primary home or like a plantation home or a manor home, and that place would get wired first and be on like the main drag or the main street more. But there a lot of times would be a whole neighborhood that would then form on the back end of kind of the quarters of the workers, sharecroppers, and that whole post-Civil War era. But a lot of areas people forget, like all the way up my family in the South, all the way into the 90s, some of them didn't have electricity to their house, and they well, in one case they used a generator. In another, he was 90 years old, my great uncle, and he just didn't care because he didn't grow up with it. And they were really poor, rural, very backwoods kind of Louisiana border, Texas border, and they just never had it. But I guarantee you, they had a pond, and I know my grandmother, his sister, her and her siblings, all 17 of them, during the 1920s and 30s, they would go catch fish in the creek, and they'd bring them back, and they'd put them in the wash basins and hold them for a night or two and just watch them and play with them. But there was actually a picture of them with some sort of, pickerel or something in the ceramic, yeah, I guess ceramic is the right word, porcelain wash basin that you would wash your face, splash it with, like you'd fill it with water if you don't have running water. But they filled it up just down at the creek, and they had some fish, and somebody took a picture, black and white picture of it. There's some kind of funny pictures, but there were guides in a lot of books, especially for like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts. What happened during the Great Depression, you had a lot of those initiatives to try to get people back to work. You had like the CCP, the Tennessee Valley Authority. You had all these different works commissions and things, and the Civilian Conservation Corps, the Army of Engineers, all sorts of different people working on these big projects and things. Well, another thing they thought was like, what's free or DIY entertainment for kids, for family, also not just that, but for education. And so there would be these initiatives from time to time, and there were several where you could write the Fish and Game Department of the United States, and they would actually send fingerling fish, like little fry as we think of them now, or maybe 2 inches long, about in most cases. And you could get things like trout or sunfish, bluegill, pumpkin seed fish, catfish. You could get those, and depending on the year and the administration, this goes all the way back to the 1880s, you could order a certain amount of them. Every American was entitled to ordering 25 or something, and you could go pick them up at your county, whatever city or whatever was the county seat for that. And so people would stock lakes for the government essentially that way early on. But a lot of people in the South and Midwest had their own lake or their own, on their property, a creek ran through it. And so a lot of early agriculture and the whole Dust Bowl ecological disaster of basically us planting too many generations of crops, ruining the quality of the land, and then massive droughts followed by not really knowing how to work nutrition back into the ground, planting ground cover crops and things like that. Like, it just turned to dust, and the topsoil blew away year after year. And for a long period there too, it really screwed up a lot of the creeks and things. So a lot of the little fish and pupfish and minnows and stuff like that were gone from a lot of those waterways. But they by the 30s and 40s, they have the the whole like trying to counter the depression with all the Roosevelt programs. And you could send away as like a 12-year-old kid, even you could send away. Now I've covered it in an episode about goldfish, and you could order from, there was this gimmick from 1882 or 3 to 1894 or 5. It was like 12 years. They would send you a goldfish and a goldfish bowl, and they would send it to you in a wax like tin or jar, basically, and it would come to your local post office, which was very odd. And I wonder like how they survived that trip. It must have been limited to where, I got to look into that program more. But in any case, they've done some wacky things, and they've encouraged a lot of that. And so what I was going to say, what got me off on this tangent, was the idea that my grandparents on both sides of my family, but especially the very poor rural family in Texas, they built these wooden boxes as they got older, as the brothers got older in like the early 30s, 1930s. They had these boxes that they would build, and they would put a window pane in the front part of the box, and then they just build a freaking wooden box, and then they put like tar from the street, and when they paved the roads and stuff, they'd scrape that and they'd put that in the corner. I mean, very DIY, very sounds very like, I don't know, questionable, problematic perhaps, but to look at a fish for the day, no life support systems or whatever. And we were talking about slate on the bottom of tanks and stuff. And it wasn't until the 40s that you really get those meta frame tanks that still had some holdover features. For instance, the slate bottom, if it has a slate bottom, that was a holdover from when things were that hardcore, when people were keeping fish on their own at home without electricity, and they had gas like lamps or gas sterno stoves, and or for that matter, candles even that you could put under it. And then, as time goes on, you start to see all the mail order stuff that by really the late 20s, you see a few good air pumps that are within like a reasonable amount of money, but still not child. Like you wouldn't consider fish keeping a kid's hobby in any way, other than like what I'm talking about, which is like you build yourself a little trough, you go collect 20 gallons of water from the creek, and then or you go get like a carboy, like a 10-gallon or a 5-gallon carboy for brewing and pickling and jarring and stuff like that. You get some big glass carboy container, and maybe it had cracked, or your parents are done with it, or your family was done with it. Well, then you might put some minnows, crayfish, crawdads, whatever you found at the creek or the local pond, you put in there in the summer or spring or fall. And you'd look at it for a few days and probably die, and then pour it out and reset. Well, the first tanks they really started thinking about long-term keeping for weeks on end, that was a big shift. And then it was another big shift when that was for someone other than just kids, other than just adults who had a lot of money, because from the 1860s and 70s on, if you had a bunch of money, you could get a giant cast iron, beautiful fountain or aquarium. But after that, yes, it comes down cheaper, and you start seeing the Euro brace style and Art Deco style. And also there's even some like Baroque / Art Nouveau with the like paisley kind of scroll work and metal and stuff. Framing of some of these things, all lead. Usually is like the solder that connects the panes of glass, and a lot of DIY stuff, as I said. But the heating and keeping of tropical fish, those cool tanks that you're talking about, like the Metaframe tanks, that's really the generation that World War II ends. the international cargo is able to go from South America to Miami in one 24-hour period. Before that, I mean, you're on a steamship, best case scenario, or you're leapfrogging on a mail plane, which nobody's going to take care of your fish that way. But there were people who were willing to, put some fish in a Chinese food looking container, bag it a couple times over, and send it up, or big glass jars or I guess tin cans, things like that. But they had these things called German cans that were what any major importer would have. So if it wasn't just a goldfish or a live bear that you would get mail order in a lot of magazines and things by this 50s, early 50s, you could also get things like the anole lizards, they'd call them chameleons. Even when I was a kid in the late 80s, early 90s, they still were doing that. You send them $12 in shipping and handling or whatever, and they'd send you some little brown or green anoles, and they'd call them like North American chameleons or the Cuban chameleon or whatever. And mine got eaten by my cat within about, I don't know, 6 months of having them. I had them in a fish tank and the top got ripped off. So getting back to what I was going to talk about, which is assuming your metaframe tank is from that golden era of the 50s, really neon tetras are like, you can't get more like traditional aquarium Americana. Like when aquariums start to become affordable for kids again is really like in the 60s. And when I say for kids, I mean, maybe your 12-year-old son is showing an interest in he's got a dog, you've had a dog as a family or whatever. And then it's pretty common back then to then, a kid reading comics or whatever sees in the back, like, oh, I can get a goldfish if I send away to this place, or I can get Siamese fighting fish and fight them again. Unfortunately, people did buy them to do what their name says. Very recently, that was still going on. And definitely in the 50s and 60s, people had a very different outlook on, obviously dogs and chickens and things. That would be taboo to have them battle one another or harm one another. But fish, who cares? Fish don't even have feelings, is what a lot of people thought. Like they don't, literally, they thought they had no sensory concept of what pain is, which I don't know, that dumbfounds me that anybody could think that, but whatever, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But the neon tetra was the first like fish to really tropical, affordable. They would catch them only about 3 months out of the year, and it was actually right around, well, you'd either get them right for our northern hemisphere. You either get them right, I guess it would be the end of June through July and August, or so you'd either get them at the end of the wet season when it's turned to the dry season, and all the water though is at its max, but the rain has kind of stopped. So now all the fish are spreading out. That's the hardest time to catch them, but that's the best time to for them to reproduce and stuff is before that even happens, so they can get out. And as the water spreads, their babies spread, right? As things are connected in the jungle and stuff, they go out. But people knew they spawn here or there, or they mate here or there. So you're either trying to catch them when they're doing their spawning thing as adults, if they're a social fish, or you're trying to catch the juveniles or middle-aged to young fish as they're growing up in a school or group, hopefully still fairly dense in numbers. And so you would really luck out if you could, back then, if you would only fish when things got the end of dry season, was the time when you would see the most large fish. And that is usually, you would see that go on for like a month or two period. And now they actually shut down the fisheries in like Colombia and Brazil for 2 or 3 months because they don't want fish caught and sold. They don't want all that pressure of people collecting them to sell outside, for export, when they're already also dying because the forest is drying up and things aren't connected. And, predatory fish are eating a lot of the eggs and fry. It's just a circle of life. But there's a certain time of year that's like boom or bust. And something along the lines with like a tetra or a big socializing and schooling fish that depends on numbers and lays lots of eggs like that and doesn't raise their young or anything. They're counting on, evolutionarily speaking, the system that has evolved is counting on like 80 to 95% death rate of those babies before reproductive age, because that's just, it's a tough world out there for a little teeny fish. But yeah, it's because that a lot of them dry out in these ponds. And so people back then, especially, but still it goes on, people would just wait for ponds to be low, and then they just get a very fine net, like a butterfly net, and they would get that material or stretch out a very fine fishing net, or they actually had insect nets also for the purpose of collecting butterflies, which was a big hobby as well in the middle of the 20th century. And people would pin them on boards and spread their wings out and show the display of the butterflies and moths. So that was also going on at night. They would put these cheesecloth or fine screen nets out, and they'd shine light behind it from the ground or up onto it, and then all the bugs would fly into it or whatever, and they'd come with another one and swoop them off of there. But they use those same nets that are very fine, like I was saying, they're that fine, to catch the fish that would be hiding in puddles and things, or back channels of little creeks that were drying out at the end of the dry season. And you'd end up with 100,000, like literally they sell them to this day. When you see Otocinclus, a number of pencilfish, a number of Corydoras species, but a lot of tetra species, like rummy nose, rasboras, tetras, or it does work the same with rasboras as well. But they'll catch them, and they'll catch them when already the water is losing oxygen. And depending on the species, like if it's Corydoras, you could have a mud puddle with like this much water, and they're all going to be toast in a few days or a month or a week or however long it's going to take. But a lot of them pass away fairly early, of like if you're talking about little slender fish, little nano fish. Sorry, guys. Sorry. They would pass away from lack of oxygen in the water, and the water getting too hot, and then ammonia, obviously, which happens pretty quickly in some of those puddles and muddy areas in the forest. But all that also goes to fertilize the forest. So all this is a really long, where the hell are you going with anything, Alex, way of saying that your awesome metaframe tank, stocking it like it would be in the late 1950s, and a 10 gallon's a little small for any sort of angelfish or whatever, but live bears would have been hot too, like a couple swordtails, or tequila already existed. The tequila guppy, which was basically like a yellow, orange, and red guppy with almost a delta tail, not quite yet delta at that point. They also had what were called, they had the tequila mollies and swordtails, but they had also, you know, platyfish. All those things were very popular, and you could do in there. But I would suggest maybe 10 neon tetras, or, you know, 12 neon tetras or something like that. Maybe 5 Corydoras pygmaeus, or Hastatus or Hebrosus, one of the small, one of the 3 small or 4 small species. And you could do that, and that would cover like the bottom or any food that you sprinkle in that gets missed, and you'd have like a semi-schooling or social fish in the quarries, and you'd have the neon tetra swimming around in a 10-gallon. If it was planted, you know, half of the tank kind of planted material in the, you know, far back 2 corners, and maybe a couple other things here and there. Maybe a stick mid tank for them to kind of have some structure to swim around. You could do that, and that would be very traditional. Now, definitely what also would have been traditional, as much as you probably don't want to hear it or think of doing it, would be to get stones that have been coated in paint, and it's definitely you know, the clown barf, as we call it, or the bright blue, bright pink, orange, yellow, whatever color you want, gravel. They would just paint them up back in the day, put them in a hopper that slowly turns, and they would just put paint and gravel together, and fish stores would just sell whatever color gravel mixes you wanted, whatever kind of rocks. It was always different. And New Jersey and New York were the main places, followed by Columbus, and then Sunnyland, Ohio, and also, obviously, you've got the Tampa and Lakeland, Florida areas that were where all the farms were and things. But those were the big areas. Maryland had a lot of goldfish and koi farms, as well as aquatic plants for ponds specifically, and golf courses. But you know, the other fish that would have been popular at that time, other than, you know, for actual Cory, to actually know what Cory was popular, the Aeneas Cory has been around a very long time, and it has been popular a long time. The Triliniatus has been known by several things and been around a long time. And then also the pepper Cory is probably the oldest one, described in the, it's described for the first time in the 1850s, 1851 or 2. And that's, I have a whole video on, there were these ones that Aquatic Arts had that were really pretty, that had a blue tone to them, that were domesticated. And they also had the high fin. So they had the high fin gene, the long fin gene, and then they were metallically blue rather than just silver. And it was the pepper Cory. And I'm totally spacing right now on, hold on one sec. Oh, Paleotis. Yeah, that's the one. That actually on Darwin actually mentions in correspondence with somebody in Buenos Aires. It's a little confusing when I saw the letters. He was talking to somebody who was in Buenos Aires and who had a pond, which was simply an old enameled bathtub that you would like sit in, like a washing basin. And they had put water lilies in it. And he was initially interested in that in his first visit to South America. They stopped there for something or other, but in the notes he kept up correspondence with this guy. He asks how the charming little catfish were, and you can figure it out too. They also withstood. They can sip air from the top like all Corys can, but they can do it pretty effectively in the pepper Cory. And also, that is probably the first one that was easily caught, and it was found in the cooler ranges. Like they can live 60 degrees or so is fine for the peppered cory when they're wild. Now, when they've been domesticated for 50, 100 years, and their breed stock is all living at 80 degrees Fahrenheit, then you never know. Like it might not be as hardy as the books say anymore. And that's something that's going on in the hobby across the board. That's very, I mean, it's sad, but it's also frustrating to know that there's fish that you used to think, for instance, like a ram, like a German blue ram is going to be, it needs acidic water. It needs soft water for the most part, a pH of under 7.2 for sure. If you're going to breed it, for sure it needs to be down in the sixes or maybe even the five to six range. And now none of that's true. Now people can breed them all the way up to 7.5, 7.8, maybe even 8.0 pH if they live their whole life that way, and they still are breeding and things. So pretty wild how that works, and how that's changed. But it makes it so the things you read in books about, oh, this fish is cold water tolerant or not hot, doesn't like discus, like it doesn't like cold water, it needs hot water. Well, now the truth is more like, yeah, you can actually keep them around like 78 to 82. That's fine. Whereas 1.86, 88 was where you needed to keep them, and actually they liked it closer to 90, which is nuts. And that's a very hot amount that then you either can't keep many other fish with it. Even plants start to struggle with that kind of heat, and yeah, it's just less fun for sure. Oh, well, George just went and outed himself earlier today about how much he spent. So sorry, I shouldn't have been worried about it. Siriana, what's going on? Yeah, she said her mom had no plumbing or electricity, and she was born in 1953. Just poor rural family. Totally, yeah. That's same story with my dad's whole family on both sides. Actually, my dad's dad was Scottish, and they moved to Canada first, and then they they tried to get on the Titanic, and they couldn't afford it. And they ended up catching whatever other boat left the weekend after or the week after, and it took them to Canada instead of the U.S. And their whole plan was to go to the U.S. And they ended up staying in Canada for 2 years and then moving through Canada west. And by 1916, I think it was 1918. What year was it? 1918, I think my grandpa finally made it to Seattle as a little boy and spent the rest of his life in Seattle. But they didn't have indoor plumbing. His father built the house they lived in, and basically they had an outhouse in Seattle until like the 30s or so, till late 30s. But yeah. Maggie Pikor, hello. I hope you're doing well. DP Exotics, what's up? Is that Dr. Pepper Exotics? Fish Dad, what's up? Yeah, those hill streams, we don't know. I'll play that one more time. Hold on. Stop that. Because yeah, they're very cool. Did I ever find, I was trying to find you guys the map of the cave system. Oh, what is this? Oh, well, hold on. I'm going to share this with you because I think it's interesting, even if maybe no one else will. But let's see here. So I turn this off. Go away, this thing. How do I make this thing go away? There. Okay. Then share screen. And then, all right, there we go. Share. Okay. So here was a map. Oh, is it gonna? Let's see if I can get it to. Can I get it to pop over here? Well, can we get this to work? Bop, 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 bop. Yep. So here's all the karst regions of the world. Is there a US? No. Apparently it's just the old world. Don't know why that is. That's freaking weird. But this whole area down here in China, and you got some of it in Myanmar, Cambodia, I mean, even into, Vietnam, Laos, all that stuff. But some of this stuff has groundwater that literally stretches 900 miles across the surface as the crow flies. Some of this area is like a giant lake underwater, and there may only be a couple passageways that connect certain areas to other areas. There's probably literally thousands of cut-off caves that we don't know about here. And we're finding new species within them. And they did a great paper on it. So if we go to Google, and I'll teach you guys a little trick. I didn't even do Google. Oh, I didn't do Google right there. Google. Let's do. Oh, that's still not Google. Okay, fine. I have to type it in up top. Stupid laptop that has Microsoft products on it. Okay, so you go to Google. Boy, that's a boring. Where's the Google Doodle? I want something to show me something. Work harder for your money, Google. Okay, so let's see here. We were gonna go with research. So this is a great little tip if you guys don't know about it. But research. Don't do like anything else other than just research. And then you'll have the search doing within the Google search. You'll then have the option to go to ResearchGate, which that's fine too. But Google Scholar. And then once you're in Google Scholar, you can either select case law or you can select articles. And so what we want to do is karst Chinese ichthyology. I don't know. Actually, let's not do all that. Let's do underground cave fish China. I'll try it more like something more generic because I know the article I'm already looking for. But so here is a paper. Is this the one I was looking for? Yeah, I think so. But this is goes over 1,117 different cave fish, and it's the Global Ecology and Biogeography journal, or the Journal of Macroecology, which this is a great, I mean, the authors in this are crazy. They're all very well established folks. But in here, they've got basically 1,017 different caves and fish and systems, and they talk about like the patterns of like what's related to what and stuff. So that's a really good article. And then also, is this the other one? There's another one that goes over a lot of really great info. This I don't think is it. This is in a book. This is from a book. Yeah, page 288. Okay. Anyways, what I love about this Google Scholar is you can go and you can search and read books and things like that. Some things do get, locked away out of sight behind paywalls and things. But A lot of times, if you're a student, you can actually log in. Okay, here's what I was looking for. So there's this new paper out, and it was talking about how genetically they found, for instance, that there's one fish. Oh, is it not going to give me that? Let's see if, can I do this? Is it no? Okay, that won't work. Let's see. Can I get a woot from all my copy? Making copies. Okay, let's try this just because I want you guys to see it. Alex, come on, paste. Here we go. So, yeah, all right, there we go. So what I wanted to show you guys, I guess I didn't really need to click on it after all, but these are all the same fish, genetically speaking. They're all the same species. They're all whatever the name. Now I lost the paper, of course. Alex, you dumb. Anyways, some of them have eyes. Some of them have giant antennas. Some of them have like no pigment or completely see-through, and their sinuses have caved in, and they basically only have like their lateral line. And like, I mean, like, what in good golly tarnations is going on with fish number A? Holy hell. Let me show you guys this even bigger. Like, what is going on, number A? Your entire fish existence, your fish face is Dagmar, hello, welcome. Good to see you. But yeah, I mean, kind of wild here about these are all the same fish, and like we were looking at on the hillstream loaches, we saw a lot of different color variation with the yellow, and that was clearly leucistic. Albino would be white or pink-ish, like this. There's also the brilliant mutation, as they call it, which is platinum. That's the other name you'll hear it called, but it means like very silver. Yeah, fish was a cokehead, totally. But yeah. Yeah, so you can see, though, that some of these are from the cave system in China, and they literally have like, they should be a different species. They may get a different species name at some point, but like letter K is clearly a completely terrestrial fish still. Same with J, and even I, and H is still pretty, terrestrial. This whole cleft sinus, cleft nose thing on these, it also happens a lot in Gara. So in like, you guys have probably seen Panda Gara or Rainbow Gara. Well, in the red-tailed Garas, which is a newer species that I don't think has a name yet, but the wet spot had some recently. And I know Bob Seafont has some as pets. They have the start of that cleft nose thing going on in their sinus, or their like nostrils, where their nostril should be. Their head is kind of caved. And whoops, well, there goes that. I just totally kicked myself off, or totally kicked the thing off there. But anyways, yeah, they have like where the fish's head should be. It's a big old notch. And it's just sensory stuff. Like, they just didn't need their eyes. That was just something to get injured and or infected, and not to be used in a cave. Let's see here. Wow. So I guess you could breed them with each other. Yeah. Wait, hold on. Yeah, you can totally breed them with each other. It's just like the cave tetras. There's the blind cave fish in Mexico and Texas. And then there's the I think it's the Rio Grande, and then there's a couple other rivers where they're also in. But their counterparts, there's the cave population that's in a karst area of the Texas-Mexico borderlands, and it's like Swiss cheese underground there, of all sorts of creeks and big lake size in other areas. And so when they find the main population in a cave of blind cave tetras, there's a lot of food in that system to have a fish like that, to have bigger fish in there, to have like different species of fish supported, means that nutrients is getting into the cave system. And that's the same with China. It's the same with in the Balkans and in Turkey. There's some massive cave systems. Tunisia and also the American Southwest has a number of like pupfish and some other albino or cave adapted, salamanders, fish, things like that. But I think that's what's going on, is something like that, because we were seeing all those different variations of them losing their pigmentation, like the leucistic, the albino. Some of them were piebald, some of them were spotted, and it looked like in general they all had kind of a pepper pattern rather than any of the like chain link or the actual patterns like a radial leopard print or rosette pattern that you might see on hill stream loaches. The ones in that post were, they weren't anything that complex. And I went to Alabama with a banjo on my knee. Now, guys, I did want to also mention one more thing. Hold on one sec. I was gonna see if this, no, wait. Okay. Oh, wow, man. Okay, I gotta share something. Just it caught my eye while I was looking for something else, but I gotta show you guys this just because sometimes the stuff that comes across my screen, I'm like, that's not real. Like that, this is these people. How do you? And it is. It's just that good. Share. All right, check this out. How you Ty? Look, man, look at his. Oh, look at that tank. Look at that. That is effing real. I can't imagine this. That is insane. You got like everything in this tank is at peak. I mean, Hygrophila chai. I can't even grow that. I kill it every freaking time. Purple, Styrogen repens. Looks like, what is that? Red triflora. Back here, you got like maybe Ludwigia pontanal or something. I mean, just insanity what this guy's growing. Man, look at that. That is incredible. There's also a couple new plants I'll show you guys while we're on my Facebook. And you'll see and here was the post that I was looking for y'all anyways, which was about play that, but I do want this so you guys can see Oliver Knott posted this. It's originally some other guy in China, a wholesaler sells these, but again, see that dotting? That's probably the default close pattern. Like it's probably like a gray or green or bronzy light color with then like black or dark gray and the pattern. These other ones are just different degrees. Like that one clearly does still have its melanin. Those are like what we would call piebald, where they just have like blotches of it. There is one that's albino, truly. And then The others, these yellow ones, are what we call leucistic, which is when they have astaxanthin and the ability to make yellow and orange, sometimes reds. And they can still have patterns, like you'll see corn snakes with that a lot of times. And they can still have the black or normal kind of eye, usually. But then there's albino, which, of course, it is that whiter, almost pink or tan color that you see here. And they said they caught all these in China in the Hillstream karst cave system. And so that's what I'm curious is, are these from different watering holes? Like, did they go collect a bunch of them, or were these all together and they're all genetically like really closely related? I mean, they're different sizes too. And there's also, are we looking at any different species? That I don't know either. But, and it would be really hard to know. But I do know people who can probably get a hold of someone who might know a little more. I think. The other thing that I was gonna show you guys about. Oh wait. Oh, I really do like these fish. Yeah, here's another one of these Chinese rare cave species. This is a Chris Lukoff picture. Obviously, he's always taking pictures of the rarest and fairest. But look at this fish. I mean, it has no eye whatsoever, completely translucent. It does not have the cleft face like some of the other ones had, but to me, I don't know. It's not a good looking fish. It's interesting. I could see if you maybe did like a really dim aquarium. There's also like Blackwater or something that might be kind of cool. Yeah, look at. I was gonna try to. Oh wait, no, that's not who had it actually. Wrong person and wrong Let me try to find. Yeah, this guy is out of control. He needs to be stopped. Yeah, look at this tank he posted. I almost used this as the picture for today. Look at that. That's not fair. That is Ludwigia Pontanal and Ludwigia. I'm spacing on the other one. Ludwigia Pontanal and Ludwigia. Yeah, that is wild. Meta and Pentanol. Yeah. Meta, Pontanol, where just the top is super red because of the way he did it. You know, he let the bottom start off green and then he turned up the power, I'm sure. But I mean, you can see there. Whoops. I guess he just got. Yeah. So, there it is earlier on. Kind of in reverse ratio of proportions, right? But you can see just how far you can push these tanks is freaking insane. I mean, look at that. It looks fake to me at that point. I mean, and I need to make my make several of the videos I've been talking about making. But yeah, I mean, holy cow, some of these aquascapers and high-tech planet guys are in a world that is it's completely somewhere new. It's not even fish keeping as we know it 10 years ago, right? Hey Randy, wait, Joey, what's up? Cave fish are just freaky, says Nancy. What were we looking for? Hey, U.S. Marine Corps, what's going on? How are you doing? Pablin Creek, what's up? Good to see you. Also, Esther, Asha, good to see you. Also, Yeah, the Yellow Hill Stream loaches. I'm just going back through, catching up on some of what y'all have said. Sorry if my face looks all like furrowed brow and concern too, because I'm like trying to read. But yeah, that tank is a little much for me even. Yeah, Steven, I know, it's pretty freaking insane. To me, I would never want a tank like those, because it's not anything natural anymore. But I want to talk to you guys about something, and I want to know if I'm going effing crazy or if you guys are feeling something that I've been feeling too. Let's see here. Oh, Diana, hello. Can you think of any cleaning crew besides snails and shrimp for an outdoor tub pond here in Seattle area? Isopods, Daphnia, seed shrimp. So all those little things, they're going to get into your pond naturally. Don't worry. They will eventually. But aquatic isopods are a pretty good one. The little water louse, or potato bugs as they would be described by some, or pill bugs, or roly-polies. They have so many names. But isopod, or Acellus aquaticus, and basically you want them because they'll eat any rot or fungus, and also any sort of rotting or fouled organic matter. So like anything that had chlorophyll in it, or that is breaking down, that is like a leaf that's rotting in your pond, they'll come and they'll eat that. And then when they go to the bathroom, they actually release it in more simple forms, and they can even eat that which they excreted a few more times and get it cleaner and cleaner to the point where then they actually, the fungi they found grows on. So they need a leaf or a log or a stick that is decomposing to have the initial nutrients for a system. Then they find that they go to the bathroom after eating some sort of vegetation that is rotting or dying, or like just leaves that fall off a plant and fall to the bottom of your tank, fish droppings, whatever. They need to eat something like that with its initial excess energy from outside the system that is the isopod. But then the isopod will get a meal out of it, go to the bathroom, and then they start growing fungi off of, and in other cases bacteria off of, just like leafcutter ants would, their own secreted stuff, leftover nutrients that they can't really get the last bits of nutrients out of. They do it by allowing the bacteria and or fungi to basically come, and that slowly works with its network, with its fingers, its tentacles, it's what we call mycelium, or its mycorrhizal network. It's able to then take the fish poo that has been, say there's a fish eats some flakes, it gets 70% of the nutrition out of them, something like that, say that. So when it goes to the bathroom, then there's this nasty toxic stuff. There's some harmless, just organic waste like carbon and whatever, and mucus from the fish, maybe dead skin cells and whatnot. Obviously water weight. And then you've got the vitamins, that 30% nutrients that still is valuable to something. Somebody would have eaten 30% of the food if that had been available when they were around. And so then these little critters are able to take that 30% and eat it. Well, maybe they get 15% or 50% of what's left there. So they only get 15 percent of the original they could have got if you were just feeding them the flakes. Well, then after that, if they tried to eat their waste again, maybe they only get like 1% or something, because they've already optimized it. Their stomach, their little organs, the liver, kidney, pancreas, all the stuff we have that digests and works on stuff and processing nutrients and energy. It doesn't work as well. So they do the thing that leafcutter ants do, which is they employ another species or several to then come in, and basically by doing that, say that there's 15% left now of that nutrients that they, even if they've eaten their own waste, they just can't get it. It's just too fine. And then they're eating your own waste, which is not, that's not a great game plan for success long term, right? So then now you got mostly all neutral stuff, and the waste and the bacteria or fungi are growing on that. Well, when they have their network of their roots of in fungi, mold, and their network like that, the little fuzzies you see growing on like pellets that didn't get eaten in time, or sometimes on food or rotten pieces of stuff in your tank, that is those not the spores coming off the top, but all the white stringy stuff that you see in your garden. That's mycelium. But that whole network is going through and basically taking those nutrients in very like microscopic ways, where sometimes it trades, like, hey, this fungus found some iron over here, and it wants to trade that for the whatever nutrients, for phosphates that it's getting from another thing in the ecosystem. But they use that trick to fix nitrogen as well, and to get that into plant roots. And then they share sugars and starches and things that the plants can create and store in their roots and in a tuber or whatnot. And then they swap it out with the fungi. Well, the isopods do the same thing. And so they're getting the last bits of goodies and effectiveness out of your whole system in your tanks. Also, they clean off harmful detritus loving and new egg fungi and things like that. Let's see here. Fusion developer, I have water spangles growing to a couple of fish. Fish orange wide eyes. Fish orange wide. What? Okay, I don't know why someone spammed that. Johnny, what's going on, brother? Good to see you, my man. Lady Nugridia, hello. Yeah, those were yellow hillstream loaches that we were debating, like, what in the heck, what they were, and what color morph they had. But I think those will be popular, and we've talked somewhat about that. Oh yeah, springtails on the surface. Those are great fusion developer for ponds too. You'll also get without, you don't have a choice. If you have floating plants, you'll end up with springtails on the water surface, but you'll also end up with aphids. And some aphids can be detrimental, but there's also kind of just passive aphids that don't really cause a problem. They just create honeydew. And then either the springtails or things like tardigrades, little water bears, little microorganism creatures will then eat this sugary sucrose and glucose rich mix that they leave on the leaves, which I don't really know why they do that evolutionarily. I get that they work in a relationship. One kind of cleans the other one, and then the other one pollinates the plant sometimes, or ends up, but there's all sorts of different little reasons why those things worked out and evolved the way they did, and I don't understand all of them off the top of my head, or ever when I hear them sometimes. But let's see here. Yeah, Florida. Thanks, Chevy Fish. Florida flagfish. They definitely are great at eating more of the kind of cladophora or the hair or the blackbeard or kind of like wiry, annoying, persistent algae that tend to grow in like a pond in a warm sunlight, like quote unquote, like Florida. You see a lot of that in Florida where it's just that's a great body of water. It's not even doesn't even have that many nitrates or phosphates or anything. Nothing that's that often. It's just doesn't have a lot of CO2, doesn't have a lot of turnover, and it just like the algae just is multiplying kind of thing. Johnny, thank you, man. I just saw your $5 super chat as well, brother. Appreciate it. I do. Banana mollies. I don't know where you can get those, but they are really cool. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Have I ever seen the purple? No. Starogen repens. No, and I want it. I want it really bad. And we've been talking. That's another, like, that's not a fish, but that's another thing. That and the white Hygrophila polysperma, which is a noxious weed federally in all the United States. But I had an argument with people over this. I actually had people come in to a store I worked at, a fish store, and they wanted to talk to the owner because we had Hygrophila polysperma sunset, which is a beautiful pink variegated Hygrophila. You've probably seen it in my tanks. I've had it over the years. And they said to me, that stuff is in every damn lake that has boats coming and going from it. And same with like Elodia and Acris. They're like, we're concerned about people transporting it to places and getting it out in the wild. And if they were smart, they would understand too, that like if they were smart about it as a program, they would realize that it could get flushed down the toilet, or people could put it in a tub out in the backyard or in their pond, and then a bird could pick it up, and a piece of it is all that would need to get broken off somewhere else, and then you've introduced it to the whole ecosystem. So they're like right there shows the vulnerability of this. But he told me, after all of those facts, he told me, like, as long as you're not selling it, and in that case, you're not buying it from someone, so you're not like implicating your buddy. That's their problem if they want to sell it. It's illegal to sell. But they said, so many people would be guilty for having it stuck to their kayak or their raft or their wetsuit or scuba gear or whatever. Like if we started doing that with plants or certain insects, just for merely having them or whatnot, like a lot of them are fragmental replicators, so you don't even need the seed or a pollinated start or whatever, fertile start or anything, or a cutting. Like you just need any amount of the actual tissue, like even a half an inch of stem or something, and it's just like, yeah, that's gonna grow into a whole plant. Let's see here. But again, thank you for the super chat, buddy. Appreciate it. Is there more than one Mel here? Melanie for short. I don't know if we have another Melanie in here. Honeydew. I did mention Honeydew just a moment ago. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to read. I lost track of my chat again. I wish I could put my chat log closer to the camera so it looks like I'm cognitively paying attention to you, because it looks like I'm just staring down at my hands doing, I don't know, F all, just doing nothing. Yeah, I love Lizard Loach's Fish Capade. Big Steve, Glass Boxes, what's up, man? Hello, welcome. Tip Man, what's up? Secret History Living in Your Aquarium. Hey, there's an old name. There's a name I haven't heard in many years. I do kind of miss that channel name, but it was really, really hard to search for, especially because Secret History, that was fine. Living, there's that word comes up a lot. Actually, history comes up a lot too, but not too bad. But living in your the and in your, those three words, they're all over the place, so they're bad for search results. They just confuse and muddle things. But yeah, polysperma. Oh, you have purple. Oh, nice. USMC, you have the purple repens, and you have the polysperma sunset. Yeah, beautiful. Don't admit the polysperma sunset, but I was gonna say that I've been looking to get a hold of some of the purple styrogen repens for quite some time, so maybe we should talk if possible. Alex, have you heard about the sores on lionfish reducing populations? I have not. I'll have to look that up though. I will. Amy, bye. Have a good day. Take care. Also, let's see here. Fish capades. Okay, got it. New here. Thanks for the confirmation of sure. Forrest Gump. Gun MP. There you go. Welcome. Come on in. The water's fine. Peace from Haiti. Haiti, really? Dang, you hardcore, brother. Ooh boy, killing. Brah. No, I have no idea. Maybe you're closer to the Dominican Republic. If it were easy to search, it wouldn't be a secret. That's right, Stephen. Thank you. Intervisions, I see your comments displaying. Oh, hold on. Benson Eats said, what did he just say that I missed? Ordered 16 tricolor Medaka from Moonlight and 4 Amano for my new 75. Still waiting for the Panda Loaches to come in. Heard from Chang about those. No, but I know it tis the season soon, but they're also domestically able to spawn them now in China pretty regularly. They've figured that out. They've got, and in Indonesia. That's actually where they'll be coming from, is either Taiwan or Indonesia. His Taiwan stuff is freaking quality. Yeah, and yes, of course, you can always email me, especially if it's about plants. But yes, I'm trying to find also what comment did I miss? Have I painted something? Seems different. Nothing yet. Eyes to see. Hello. And oh, this is funny. I just saw this comment and it looks like Pooey Sperma. Just I don't know if that was a typo or if you said that on purpose because it's illegal, like, because it's a pain in the butt and everyone like whines about it too. But whatever. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't see your first comment. Intervisions. I didn't see like what you asked. Oh wait, never mind. Maybe these aquatic isopods live in 4.5 to 6.0 pH. Yeah, they live in acidic conditions. 0 to 1 kH. They need kH. They need kH for their shell, their exoskeleton rather. When is the best time of year to look for habrosis? They seem elusive. Any advice? So habrosis are not elusive, and they're bred in captivity a lot. But Histatus is the one that was like for a while there was getting pretty elusive. Now they both can be depending on what part of the country you're in and who supplies where you buy from and if you're at a big store or whatever. But I would keep an eye on Aquatic Arts has had both recently, and they had them for $6.99 and then $11.99 for Hestatus. So that was a killer deal. The price being that high is a little weird because 5 years ago you could get them for like $5 or $6 a piece. But I guess times have changed, you know, things are always changing in the fish world. But yeah, that's one that I was also kind of like, dang, it's a big difference. And then also yellowfin hillstream loach, I suspect was actually a Burmese lizard loach. Yeah, so that could very well be. There are some very interesting, like in the gastromyzon and stuff like that. Yeah, let's see here. Are they using hormones to breed the panda loaches in Asia, or are they using so both have occurred. But yeah, no, you know what? In China and in Indonesia, actually, here's the real. Here's the real. A lot of the fish are doped for one, which means their colors are going to be incredible. They're going to look like they're spawning, and they're not, you know, which makes them, when they're stressed and everything too, it makes them look better, but it's actually really hard on them long term to put them through that when they're just getting to adulthood, to force them into that maturity stage is not like, you know, it's not a bad thing always, but it's definitely not a good thing always either. And so a lot of the fish coming out of China, Malaysia, Indonesia, the Philippines, those places, and some in Vietnam, you get, and then obviously China is pretty much anything you get out of China that's not wild caught is going to get either juiced, because a lot of times it's cichlids or domestic lines of a flower horn or of a hybridized peacock cichlid or of a jewel cichlid or something, right? Or a parrot or flower horn or whatever. And the reproduction on a lot of nanofish, things like chili rasboras and stuff, they will usually use this stuff. There's kind of this secret chemical in the hobby, and it gets used by breeders sometimes too here, even though it's illegal. But there's basically a drug that you can put in the water that causes the fish to at least lay whatever eggs they have that are ready, and or to start going into the production of eggs. And there's a number of different ways people kind of go about that. And then once they have the fish, there's another of what we call juicing, which is the making them look better than they probably are, in that they look like, wow, that's a phenomenal looking fish. But in reality, like a lot of the koi, a lot of the higher end guppies or bettas, they may have been intensified their color with, you know, with diet, which that's fine. That's not really cheating or anything. But when you get them out of the wholesaling farms in Southeast Asia, a lot of them can get the drugs extremely cheaply, and or things like the color enhancing stuff. You're not supposed to dose it at over 400 international units, like vitamin units or whatever, a day for per kilogram of fish. And that's plenty for sure. That's gonna turn like a koi like this color red instead of just like subtly orange, right? And yeah, it would take like that much astaxanthin or you know, any other kind of like lycopene, any of the other carotenoids. That'll take a fish that's this color. Like if you're, look at my hat, so for the contrast, but if you had a fish that was like this orange with enough astaxanthin, you could get it to be almost like a dark red or a metallic-y red, crimson-y red instead of orange. and yellow you could get to be this color, you know, whereas normally like that would be the yellow. So anyways, guys, I wanted to mention one more thing. Could those yellow hill stream loaches be injected or juiced? That's a really good question, Chevy. Yeah, they could be, because the easiest thing to juice is the astaxanthin first. That's not even like an illegal thing. It's just a food additive that works very well at increasing yellows, oranges, and reds. So then there's that level, and people do that, and you can buy it. That's what color enhancing food almost always is. Now there's also anthocyanins and omega-3s, omega-6s, vitamin D, vitamin A. Like there's other things that go into how good those a given fish looks, and what fish should take which thing. If sunlight, for instance, if they have their fish outside in ponds, they're going to look a hell of a lot better. If they're eating insect protein, they will generally, for predatory fish, do far better than when they're eating vegetative derived proteins or land mammal derived proteins, which I thought was interesting, because they were talking about when they use ground up shrimp or salmon meal, as it's called, where it's like the guts and the head and like cartilage, like everything just ground up, dried out, freeze dried, and turned into a powder. Like everything that's left on the rendering floor of the shrimp and salmon in like trolling ships and stuff. Well, it turns out that that's actually, you know, it's not the best fish food, but it's not a bad one. It can be up to like 50%, 52% crude protein by weight. But they found that for fish that are like insectivores, so like an archerfish or something, that is going to be like, that'll be okay. But if they give them the vegetable protein that's derived from vegetables, even though they're both protein, even though sometimes you can buy them as the same like product or whatever, they have different properties the way they metabolize in the fish. And so giving black soldier fly larvae, insect, or grubs is another one, you know, a lot of different grubs and bugs that grow. They can then grind that up and dry out and feed it to the fish. But that's another one that really makes a difference. And they can actually tell in like salmon, in their muscle tone and their composition of like what their tissue is made of when they sample it. If they were fed on a farm, like farm raised trout and salmon, if they were fed like soy-based proteins and calories, or if they were fed a pellet that's made from like rendered cow trimmings and you know, other whatever meat stuff, mammal stuff, or if it comes from insects. So there's three very specific like categories that you see in nutritional reviews for fish. And I don't know if there's only three differences, or if like every protein has a difference. I haven't gone that deep down the rabbit hole, but maybe one of you knows how that works. So guys, I want to cover one more thing before I get out of here. And it's something that I wanted to share with y'all about how I've been feeling. And part of it is like on the note that I'm finishing up for the day, just because I'm starting to like, my eyes are starting to get tired, and I'm starting to also, my voice is getting sore, very sore. So I've had this cold thing for over a week now, like nine days or so. And my, you know, if I talk much more than this, my horse will go voice. My voice will go hoarse. But I've been wanting to make content for you guys. Obviously, I haven't been feeling super well, so I've just been like, I'll stream if I feel up to being on the computer for 2 hours or whatever. I'll stream instead, and that's what I've been doing with the energy. So that's what's going on. But or take care of the aquariums and stuff. That's another thing. But setting up the camera stuff and all that, I feel like I've done a bad job this month. And I know you guys never hassle me about it or anything, but I've showed you guys recently, and I could make a whole episode about it. But even like Aquarium Co-op, like they're getting numbers on certain videos that would have gotten easily 1 million views recently, like as of 2024. Now they're getting maybe in a week like 40,000 views or 28,000 views, and to the point where Aquarium Co-op hardly makes any content, right? Like at all. I mean, they do their fish club and their talk things, and then Randy has the podcast, but it's really hurting the whole pet and fish sector. So we're down at least if we were averaging 3 million minutes watched as a channel in 2023, we're now averaging 1 million or 800,000. And that's just kind of like the ambient background line. And then obviously if you're making more content or you have a viral video or whatever, then you see these trends that go way outside the main line. But as a general rule, looking at all of the aquarium, reptile keeping, animal stuff, unless their channel has like just hit it out of the park and has gotten really popular all of a sudden, and it wasn't before kind of a thing, you'll notice that it's been very, very slow compared to what it was, and I have no idea what changed in the algorithm. But what's really frustrating to me about that is not that, oh boo-hoo, Alex doesn't get paid. Like, I would be on disability or partial disability or whatnot right now for all the issues I have regardless, right? So it's not like that necessarily, but it is frustrating that when I make content that I want you guys to see as people I care about, people who backed me, supported me, and want to hear about these things, want to get the content. So often I'm still getting questions like, dude, when you changed your channel name, like I started to just stop seeing your stuff, or a year or 2 years ago, I never got recommended your stuff anymore. Like, I didn't know you were still around. And a lot of people are actually backing the channel. And so I want to like tell everybody, like, thank you so much for the support and for the love and for the questions, and just everything that y'all do means a lot to me. It's you guys are the best. And I really do appreciate it. But lately, this is bigger than just that trend. But so what I've been feeling, and I want to know if you guys have felt this too. I've been feeling like when I get up in the day, and this is partially because, I've got a year and a half where I haven't been able to stand up straight properly. I've gained all this weight. I've gone through all these infections. I've had surgery after surgery for my leg, broken both legs and ankles. It's been a long haul the last year and a half or two, but I'm getting better. I'm healing. I'm able to walk around more and more. I don't have a giant boot on. I have orthotic shoes that look goofy, but things should be trending upward. I should be happy, you'd think. But lately, I'm just noticing that I get up and, I try not to watch the news or anything like right off the bat, but I've been feeling more unmotivated in the hobby than I think I've ever felt. And I feel really bad about it. Like, I'm not uninterested. I'm uninterested in doing more than exactly what I want to do at that time, which is very selfish. So let me just say I'm going to try to be very blunt about this, to just be honest and truthful about it. But like, you know, I used to get excited and I'd say, oh, this is a cool topic, I want to tell people about this, like this is really interesting, I'll make people care about it, and then they'll find it interesting, and then maybe they'll feel invested in, you know, the conservation or the preservation of this fish or something. And so I'm excited to talk about all this, that, and the other. But now, like every video where I go into the context of a crisis and I talk about, for instance, like a fish that's endangered or a nano fish, and if I talk about if it's been genetically modified with glowfish, people want to interject with their opinions on, or them thinking that I have some strong opinion on GMOs, or the fact that, you know, whatever, supposedly the government invented them to do some nefarious thing, or it's something to do with zebrafish and vaccines. Like there's always some political angle or some anti-intellectual current that I've been feeling in not in our core group of channel supporters and friends, but I think there's like this weird, also like economically, I know everybody's having to like tighten their seat belts and all that jazz. But I wake up and I think about doing like the water changes, and like I used to want to just stare at the fish tank and just enjoy, and maybe I go to the fish store, get a new fish that I've seen it a million times, but maybe I've never owned it, and I've never had 12 schooling in a tank, and I had 34 tanks, right? It was something always interesting going on. But now that I've downsized, I thought I'd be staring at each tank a whole lot more. And what I'm finding, at least in the moment, is that I'm finding myself feeling very extremely aimless. And I mean that literally. I literally, when I'm working from home, you know, I've been picking up graphic design gigs in between here and there, or consulting on aquarium stuff or ecology, biology, project stuff, mycorrhizal mediation plans, and things like that for local community parks. Also doing some outreach, and then the nonprofit, but some outreach for prisoners using aquariums. I'm still really passionate about all that. But like, even I'm talking not about just the channel, but like literally, I don't want to do the dishes in the morning. I don't want to do the whatever, I don't know, sweep or this, that, or the other. Like I'll make a list, I'll do the things that I have to do. But lately I get up and I feel like I'm waiting for the next shoe to drop, whether that is going to be the news saying that there's some crisis going on, or whether that's someone saying that the Democrats are doing this or the Republicans are doing that, and that basically these two groups of people in my life are literally, especially on the internet, at each other's throats, when even a few years ago we could like at least be like, well, you think a little differently than I do, I think a little, okay, well, we'll just let it be. Like it just feels like there's a lot of things going on in the world, and for some reason I've been finding myself, usually I run to the aquarium for my whole life as the place to go zone out and to recharge me. And I feel that way about nature, and I haven't been able to get out in nature because of the injury and not being able to travel very well. And so I'm hoping that that's a big part of this. But I'm hearing now from other friends that they feel what I'm saying about the world, feeling that like overwhelmed by what you're going to hear news wise. Like for me, I'll just say like that I am big on the rule of law, believe that or not. I am big on, you know, how the Constitution came to be, and reading about it. And I whether it's a Democrat or Republican, the president, or a theoretical, you know, politician or whatever, I've been very outspoken. The times I've gone, like, even though I've had a rough life and I've been in and out of control by the institutions for getting arrested and things, it's always been political, actually, that I've been arrested for, other than one time when I was 14 or 15, when I got arrested for having someone else's Ritalin. Uh, which, by the way, is 4 felonies if you're at school in a school zone, even if you're 14, even if you're prescribed it, as long as it wasn't yours, it's 4 felonies. It's possession of a controlled substance, possession of a without a prescription. It was conspiracy, and then it was possession in a school zone for having 2. So anyways, that was my first big criminal career move when I was 14 or 15. But then after that, all my any police record I have, which I think there's maybe 5 or 6, either trespassing, resisting arrest, and disorderly conduct. The resisting arrest was back in 2004. I put my arm in a PVC arm link, and we waited at a port blocking the road for some missiles that were going over to Iraq to start the shock and awe thing, or 2003. They were going to start that whole, like, the warning had come in, and we found out that the local military installation was shipping out a bunch of ammo through the port near us. So we chained ourselves to the gate and on the railroad tracks. And I got arrested as still a juvenile at the time, but I got arrested, and that kind of started at a high level of that was resisting arrest. So you can say, oh, you crazy liberal hippie or whatever. It's been mostly anti-war or pro First Amendment, pro I honestly pro Second Amendment too, but pro for First and Fourth Amendment, and pro habeas corpus, the rule of law. And lately I've been really stressed about what I see as corruption going on, like, right before our eyes in our country. And there's enough corruption in the sense of the rich getting richer, the poor getting poorer lifestyle thing going on. And there's also lots of things to be grateful for and thankful for that are going well in daily life and in society also. But at the same time, lately, I feel like I am waiting for somebody to come pick me up. Like, I want somebody. Yes, you're Fusion developer. That's 100% true. Just from what I have learned in my life as well. Even if they're your pills, if they're in a container that is not the prescription bottle, they can charge you with possession of a controlled substance or unlawful, what do they call it? Not distribution, but like transportation. There's a few laws that exist in places. And yes, Techno Allah, I think you're 100% right. That the AI is also really, really crushing me right now. Not that I don't care, I don't care about the, oh, a new fish is discovered. Oh, wow, look at it, I got an all-time record on this fishing rod and all the, like videos and things. But in the sense of there's channels that are being set up by people to make content, and they're okay. I mean, a lot of times they're checked by a person and they're pretty damn good. But that voice, it's always a voice that sounds pretty real, and then you'll hear it say a word like the Latin name, and they're always very confident, and they say it the wrong way over and over, like however phonetically it decided it was going to say it. But especially in fish, when you see an AI narrated channel, there are a lot of them now, a lot of content going out there. There's other people that just use AI in the visuals too. And that's been going on for years. a lot of people who didn't have editors would hire a company to get clips from, and they would just have AI do a keyword search against whatever you're talking about, and then AI would literally cut in meaningless frames that, you know, if you have the money, you can pay for that. But also I'm sick of the pay to play Google thing, and then making you, they really want you to buy ads to promote your own channel. And it's like, I don't want to become a Google ad. I don't want to buy Google ads for my own channel. Like, you know, I did it as an experiment when the system was new. And every single subscriber that I got from paying Google themselves was crap. They were bots. They decimated my view time. I used to have a 12-minute and 40-second retention time on my average standalone videos. Okay, that's insane. The average on YouTube for years was like 25 seconds or something, right? It's very short. And if they stay over 30, then like you got them, is kind of the thinking. It didn't even count as a full view usually back then until 30 seconds for most of YouTube's history. But I worked very hard to get from 8 minutes up to 12 and a half minutes by having good content for 20 or 30 minutes in some of my longer deep dives and stuff, and having people want to watch. But now it's not necessarily about how long you keep their attention or if they like it or any of that, if they're subscribed or not subscribed. It's just about the person in YouTube's ecosystem. And even if they watched your video for 2 seconds, but then they went and they watched shorts for 20 minutes afterwards, and the algorithm has learned that person gets online to watch your videos, then they get distracted and they watch something else, they're going to serve up your videos, even though like categorically it's crushing your channel's stats. It's causing your average view time to crater. But to them, the bottom line is just who is going to get on YouTube, and then whether they're watching shorts, long ones, podcasts, whatever it is, how do we get the most ads in front of these people as possible? How can we get them on live streams, get more ads in there? How can we get little things to pop up? How can we suggest that they do super chats or donate or whatever, and then they get a 40% cut of that right off the top? So all these things are all they kind of care about, and it's gotten more and more that way. Whereas before, there really honestly was a balance. Into 2024 is when the big shift changed, really, from what I can see and what I read, you know, as being a nerdy person who does YouTube for a living. You know, you can understand and you can see a lot of these also purpose-built channels where there's like 10 people working at a channel, and they're all very skilled content creators, and they may have someone on the team who does just the thumbnails, and they run the A/B tests to see like which thumbnail's more clickable, and they'll do that, and then they'll get a few, and then they'll try that out for like a month ahead of time. So they'll have engineered videos they know are going to be slam dunks before they even upload them. And I think there's a backlash, because I notice a lot of people just uploading videos and it's just like a picture of them at their mic or at their desk, or them talking into their mic like this. Like, you know, one of the TikTok kind of videos where you literally are just going like, hey guys, how's it going? And talking into your microphone. And people are watching those because they know it's at least not AI. They know it's at least a genuine person with something to say, something on their mind. And you don't know when you just see a montage of pretty pictures and you never see a narrator or a person, especially not a person talking. But anyways, that's all a side thing that, yes, I agree, that has caused me to feel very burnt out in a way that I've never felt before on YouTube. The money bugs me in the way that obviously it's good to have money. I know I can make money either tattooing or doing graphic design, selling and breeding fish here and there. Like I've got lots of ways in my life over the course of my life that I've made money. But the getting to read for weeks, months as a job, and literally when you guys were paid members, if you paid, even if you paid, you know, $1.99 2 years ago, you were paying me to spend 30, 40 hours of my week reading in between my free time because I'm a dork, even though I enjoyed it, but you were paying that membership fee, and it allowed me then to have my basic needs covered and bills paid so that I could then spend so much time obsessing over fish and then sharing it with you. But lately, I still obsess over fish, and now, especially when I'm sick and there's something going on in the world, like, so if there's a big news story, hardly anyone shows up for a video on YouTube. And it used to be that people would run away from big news stories or ongoing like war and conflict, stuff like that, because they wanted to escape. So they wanted to go talk about fish or whatever, or during all the COVID stuff, you know, eventually people were not wanting to hear any more about the alarmism of the moment. They wanted to just, you know, focus back on something pleasant. And lately, I just have felt like I have a friend who's gonna pick me up in an hour, or you know, let's see what time it's on my computer. It says that is that right? It says, yeah, it says it's 4:30 Pacific time. So like my average state of being at home lately, I haven't been laying down, I haven't been sitting, I've been pacing, and I look out the window. Why? No one's coming. I've just found that I've been on edge, and I don't have like a whole bunch of energy to be on edge. I'm not like nervous, jittery on edge, but I feel like I am anticipating or waiting for something to occur. I'm waiting to hear that, boom, here's $4,000 bill for this, or boom, this is going to happen. And lately, when I've been making content, I'll start editing, I'll do the research. I got like so many topics right now that are ready in my head that I could do the actual, I could sit down and I could literally talk into a mic, and I could overdub if I had an editor who was like, yeah, I'll totally, you know, put the content of whatever you're talking about. I'll do that. And but I have probably 30 videos, 40 videos that I could just start narrating right now that I've done the research on. I could pull up the notes and we could talk about, oh, the species spotlight of these new Chinese hillstream loaches. You know, it could be the following 6 species, or Corridorus concolor, and you know, that really popular new species, all of these different things. So nothing's changed in the background research, the saving of articles, the saving of details. Yeah, that's a good question, Randall Ben. The sense of impending doom. Yeah, the medication list that I'm on. Yeah, it could be very. It could 100%, Randall Ben. It could be. It could be. It could be. It might be one of these things. It might be one of these stupid effing things. One of the many. You know, even just the antibiotics I've been on in the last 2 years are hell on your gut. But then the fact that I don't produce any of my own luteinizing hormones, so I don't produce testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, human growth. Like I'm not producing any of those ever since I got hit by lightning. And so they've had to supplement that by, and there's a shot that I could get, but it's $6,700 a week to get this injection. So there's no way I can afford that medication, or well, it's technically considered a therapy or treatment because you have to be in the hospital once a week to get it. But it's called a luteinizing suite, And it's what your pituitary gland sends to your thyroid. And right now, my thyroid is not getting any signals from my brain. And it's also why I'm having all the lymphatic troubles too, is like my lymph system, also the testosterone, but that's, you know, that messes up your weight, it messes up your concentration, your sleep, all of that. And ever since the lightning strike, they know that when I had the head injury of the lightning going through my brain, that the pituitary gland appears as though it is not lighting up on the where they put the cap on and they do the EEG, I think it's called, where they actually see your whole brain and like they see what electrical signals are lighting up and going on. Your pituitary is a very ancient part of your brain, and it doesn't need to like light up a ton for a lot of things. And it has like its basic function still intact. It's part of your like reptilian brain. But somehow lightning is just about one of the only injuries, like electricity is, that could have managed to hit that without killing you and destroying your brainstem too. But yeah, so there's a chemical called the luteinizing hormone that your brain should, your pituitary gland should be like, yo, here's this luteinizing chemical, make 400 micrograms of testosterone. That'll break down into estrogen once you metabolize it as a man. So only make 20 of estrogen, and then your gut biome makes up more of it too. Your gut biome makes somewhere between 10 and 20% of your hormones, and including your serotonin and your all that kind of like your dopamine, your serotonin, a lot of your not neurological, but I can't think of the word right now. But anyways, yeah, a lot of the chemicals in your body come from that. They also found in very recent news, there was a very fascinating YouTube essay that I saw recently, like video essay, that talked about sleep deprivation, and they never used to know, and they studied this in Medaka rice fish, okay? They didn't know why people would die between 15 and 20 days. Neurotransmitters, thank you so much. Yeah, things like GABA and all those fun serotonin and dopamine, and there's a million of them. But yeah, bacteria and your gut also work in tandem. Your intestines, lower stomach, even up possibly into your mouth, which is interesting, and your dental health may have a role in some of that. It's vastly produced though by signals in your brain going to your lymphatic and your I just said it, your underneath your norepinephrine. Yeah, you guys know all of them. Thyroid, thank you. Big Steve's Glass Box says, I don't think we put enough importance towards gut health, overall health, happiness, and we all know what antibiotics do to your gut. Yeah, no, I know that this bag is mostly antibiotics, somewhat steroids, like anti-inflammatory steroids, but also testosterone replacement. Gabapentin takes away opiate withdrawals. Why is not used as detox med, I wonder? They do use it as a detox med now. Gabapentin, Neurontin. Yeah, they do use that as a detox med to help. They have used it for over 20 years, in that when I detoxed a few times before I was successfully off being addicted to opiates years and years ago. Watch, I just caused this whole stream. It probably won't get promoted to any of our viewers now. But that's fine. Whatever. Y'all are here and you're more important than who's not at the moment. No offense to those of you in the future who watch this. We're having a moment. But yeah, we are, we're finding that, and the other thing that's really helpful for opiate withdrawals that was not utilized. Also, though, gabapentin there's a huge problem of the people who have died of overdose deaths of drugs, any kind, whether that's alcohol or aspirin or the big fent. They found that wait, I want to get this right. So they found that 1 in 9 of those people, so over 10%, something like 12% or whatever, of people who are dead of an overdose had gabapentin in their system, which is really odd because, yes, it is a very popular prescription medication, but it also increases depression in breathing. So respiratory depression, it increases. It slows down your GABAergic neurological, like the speed at which chemicals, I don't remember if it like down throttles the number of receptors or if it makes the actual signal weaker. I don't remember the mechanism it works off of, but it does make it so basically neurological pain, but overall neurological signals, not just pain, but just any signal. It makes it so that it becomes harder for it to send as many like ow, 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 ow signals. Yeah. Tell me why it's a nightmare. Genuinely curious. Gabapentin, chronic nerve pain. Yep, that is what I was given it for. And yes, they have also linked it now to dementia. Yeah, I just the other day, it's only approved for, this is crazy. So I know this is a big side tangent, you guys, but if you've heard of gabapentin or Neurontin, it used to be given out like candy, like that and Flexeril or cyclobenzaprine, muscle relaxer, for anybody with like a hurt knee or hurt back or whatever. You're like, oh man, my back's out or my sciatic's flaring up or whatever, and I've always had issues because I broke my back at 16. But they used to say like, here's 240 gabapentin, like a huge bottle, and the prescription bottle itself is also large. And they'd be like, take as needed for pain or whatever. But they thought it had no effect, on your mind or body in the sense of like a high. So they just gave it to everyone thinking, well, it's not an opiate or it's not a stimulant or anything. But now they're finding, oh wait, 30% of people who were abusing prescription opiates also reported abusing the gabapentin. And in prisons, they're finding it along with Seroquel and Suboxone are the most abused medications, like sold recreationally. Phenibut. Yeah, also that one, and then 5-HTP was another one, Stephen, that people were using to try to increase the intensity of other substances. Lightning, the effects it had on my endocrine system. That's why I'm having right now such problems with water retention too. Yeah. And they couldn't figure it out. It was wild. I feel a USMC. Restless leg syndrome is awful. It is awful. I got that whenever I would kick off opiates, when I quit them several times and got clean cold turkey for a number of years. Then I was clean for like 8 or 9 years straight, and then relapsed for like a month, and then had to go through the whole withdrawals all over again. And that was brutal. That was worse than the first time. But the first time I did it, I'd been doing it for 7 or 8 years, since from like 15 to 22 or whatever. And I was taking, well, it got to street stuff. I'll keep it. I don't want to, say too much, but when I was taking the oxycodones, I was taking the 80s they had back in the day that people would either crush or smoke or whatever. When I got really bad off and was really depressed, and in the heat of also drinking alcohol and stuff, I would take 8 to 12 of those a day of the 80s. And yeah, where did I get them? That's a whole other crazy story about how overprescribed everyone was for a while there in like 04, ish, around that time. But yeah, I haven't had any of that, other than when I'm in the hospital now, I will take them up on opiates or nerve blocks or muscle relaxers. But at home, unless I'm under doctor supervision, it's been now 17 years, and I haven't touched a drop of alcohol in 17. For opiates, 14 years, but for alcohol, 17 years. Can you do an episode where we email you tank pics and you can talk about them? Totally. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Yeah. I also want to say too that I'm not, anything I've said today about any medication or whatever, I'm not a doctor. So if you're taking something and your doctor says that's what you should be taking, whatever, like, go talk to your doctor, ask them, ask your pharmacist, ask another doctor, get a second opinion, whatever. I'm just some guy online. So anything I say about gabapentin or what I've heard, it's just what I've heard. I don't know anything more than the guy next door. So, but thank you, Benson. It's hard. That's another hard thing, is that, like, with all of this lately, I get so tired and cognitively I crash. And if I keep streaming once I've hit my limit of physically feeling really worn out or whatever, like for the day or for the afternoon, like, you guys know it, a lot of times I'll start blinking slower. And I've been streaming for 2 hours straight. I haven't even left, the frame to go take something, like, but people hop in and they'll be like, oh, he's drunk again or whatever. And it's like, again, like, somebody thought I was drunk at some, like, man, that's a bummer when you have worked, 17 years to avoid it and to not take it. And that's nights of not going out with friends. That's turning down so many times, so many changes in your life, And now, no, it's no big deal to me to avoid alcohol. No big deal whatsoever, except for if I'm in extreme emotional or physical pain. Someone dies, or I am like literally crying in pain because of my back or something. That is when it crosses my mind, like, man, I wonder if a drink would, like, take that away, But it's been long enough now, 17 years, that it's like, I don't have a craving for it. I smell it and I'm like, like, it's just, I can even have sips now of it and I'm not gonna, like, want more. I just, if my wife's like, try this champagne, I'm like, cool, tastes like a very dry. I can do the whole, like, yeah, it tastes like this according to what a wine should taste like. But I'm just not that into it either. But eyes to see, I appreciate that, man. And shout out to anybody out there who have, who have also, healed from that. Yeah, and thanks, like, Benson, like, your comment, I do appreciate it. There's a lot of people here that are also former either, you know, addicts or alcoholics, or maybe it's even something like anorexia or OCD. I was really bad OCD when I was younger. I had to do the thing where I would like touch doorknobs 3 times or turn them once to the right, once to the left, once to the right, once to the left, 3 times each, or 7 times, or some prime number. It was always a prime number. And if I didn't, you know, it wasn't the end of the world necessarily or anything, but I would I'd get stressed throughout the day if I couldn't do all those things that I wanted to. My very specific like ritual of the day. The more that I missed, the more the day would start feeling off. Well, anyways, I've come a long way since then. I don't do any of that other than a couple weird ones, like when I'm golfing and I'm going to hit the first drive. You have a couple little things. When I get in a car, and when I say goodbye to a loved one, like there's a couple things I do that are a little different, but I always, when I was a kid, I even though I know you can do sign language of I love you, but I used to go, I love you to my parents, and I'd hold up 3 fingers. Well, now our family, when my mom had her brain aneurysm when I was 17, she had one pupil blown and she could barely see out of her other eye. That eye was blind. And she was being wheeled back into surgery for brain surgery. And I wouldn't know it at the time, but she became a vegetable for 6 months, my senior year of high school. And the last thing she did before, as they were wheeling her back and I was running along the glass from the ER to where they were taking her at Harborview in Seattle, was she held up her hand like this to me, which was I love you, from when I was a kid. And so when she eventually did heal, she didn't remember that anymore. But now she knows the story of it. Now my mom is very like a completely functional person now. She's learned to use, after having one half of her body not work, after losing a lot of her memories, including most of my life and childhood and stuff. She has at least been filled in on the details and has like a working outline over the last 25 years now that works okay. Which is miraculous, because they said she wasn't going to make it. They tried out at the time what is called the coil surgery, which at the time it was the 7th person in the world to have had it. And they go up through your femoral artery, and they go up in through your heart, up through your neck, and then they put it into the deepest parts of your brain. Before, where they couldn't fix an aneurysm, they would put what's called a shunt in there, but it was just a titanium spring, really, that then they heat from the inside the vein, and it would like melt it, and also it would shape change like a memory metal, and they would reinforce the blown out side of the artery with that. So it actually saved her life, this surgery. And the guy who did the surgery that saved my mom's life, I haven't ever told this story on this channel, but Cooper Polly was his name, Indian guy or Pakistani maybe. But he was a neurosurgeon, obviously, but he was speaking in Seattle. I think that was his name, Cooper. Yeah. But he was speaking in Seattle, and he was from Dallas, I want to say, or Houston. And he was there to talk about this new coil thing that he'd done like 3 or 4 of it personally. And he wasn't there to be a surgeon or anything. But then my mom came in, and they were literally like, she's going to die. And they asked if he would step in and do surgery. And literally within a 6-hour window, she was there. They were debating how they were going to do surgery. They needed the MRIs, and back then they couldn't send MRI files digitally. So I, at 17 years old, we stole a Corvette from my friend's dad, who had a car lot. Well, we drove up to his car lot, and my buddy knew where all the cars were. He took the keys to a brand new Corvette, and we had to drive to a city called Everett that's just north of Seattle, and then drive down to bring the DVD copies or whatever they were. Yeah, I think they were DVD, or it was a hard drive maybe. I don't remember. It was a bag that I got from the hospital in Everett where she had gone the day before for a headache. And she was now unresponsive, awaiting what brain surgery she's going to get. And they need the detailed, high resolution scans of her brain to compare with, how things have changed or whatever. So we drove like 140 miles an hour down the freeway at like 9:30 or 10 at night. And we got the files to them. But also before all that, like I had been drinking a lot at that point in my life at 17 years old. I was getting good grades and, doing chores, working a job. Like that was like, I was a pretty good kid in the sense of like, and do mean or destructive stuff a ton. It was more just I was a kid and I was in pain, and I was also kind of like covering up some social anxieties and my OCD, and alcohol was just like the cure all to that at the time of my life. And it also helped me socially. I thought I needed it socially to talk to the cool kids or whatever. But that had caused friction between my mom and I. And so that morning, she literally said to me, "Oh my God, Alex," and I'm an only kid, their only kid and everything. And she said, "One of these days, you're going to give me a goddamn heart attack. I'm just going to drop dead. And I can't take it anymore. If you're going to live," and she was mad because I'd come home late and I'd been drinking. And I came home late and she had a suspicion I'd been drinking. And I was 17 and I was stupid. And "Oh, leave me alone. I'm getting good grades. I have a job. I pay for my car. Let me do whatever I want to do." And she's like, "You drove," and that turned into a whole thing. Well, then I went to school or whatever that day. She was getting ready for work. And that's when she had the brain aneurysm and like had a bad headache still from the night before. And then looked in the mirror and saw that one eye was completely a pupil and the other one was a pinpoint of a pupil. And yeah, but then my addictions and things got a lot worse as her going into a coma for about 6 months and then being in the hospital for 9 months, 2 brain surgeries. That was really hard on me as an only child. My dad then had to, like, we almost lost the house because even with double insurance, there were a lot of out of cost charges of like experimental treatments for my mom and stuff. And so they had like a couple $1,000,000 in debt racked up. So they paid it all. They're still together. They married each other at a high school. Like, so much power and props to my parents, I gotta say. But yeah, it's been a crazy life. And that is what set me down a path of then, oh, sure, I went to college. I did all the things I thought like I had to do, that I was expected to do by my family. I even started off by like, oh, I'm going to go to either law school or med school because that's what everyone says I should be doing. Like no one even graduated high school in most of the family. I got to be the one who's going to do it. And, I just ended up at the law firm. I hated it. I did it for, I think it was 5 months. Like I didn't even finish 6. I was like, I can't do this. This is terrible. Like clerk work, assistant stuff. And I was like, I don't want to be a lawyer. There's too much paperwork. It's too boring. It's not what I thought it was. I want to make a difference. At the time, that was my thought. And then I started learning about, I'd always wanted to do art, but my parents were like, do not dare go to art school. So I got into history, and that was one that we kind of all agreed, like history and archaeology were like, that's enough science and enough, like of a job that you might get paid for or you could teach, that we don't care, even though it is kind of an odd thing. But so I got into all of that world, but all through my 4 years of college, I was raging alcoholic, very functional by most people's standards, probably. But there was not a lot of moments, even with my heavy opioid usage, other than putting myself in immense risk and sometimes others, which I'll always regret. and the heartache that I may have caused those who cared about me, who knew what was going on, which I also still feel bad, you know, I'll always feel bad about, because I've gone through that with so many other people, like while they're having an addiction or trouble. I can't imagine what it's like for parents when their kid just won't stop, you know, reckless or dangerous, damaging behavior. Um, you know, but I can safely say for me, there was a point in my life that was rough enough that, ironically, I think that was the better of two options of what would have happened to me, with the coping skills I had at that point in my life. It was either I wasn't going to exist, I wasn't going to be around here, period, on earth, or I was going to have to completely annihilate my feelings, emotions, and all free time. I couldn't have any free time for my thoughts to wander. Um, even, you know, even while intoxicated, like I had to be busy and intoxicated, going to school or at work, and you know, like it was bad. But now, it's been years out of that lifestyle, and oh, my phone's ringing. It's my wife. I'm sure she's headed home. Yep, I'll give her a call back in a sec. But guys, I got off track again. Lisa, holy cow, 25 years and 6 months, 9,000 days sober. Wow, dude, hell yeah. Shout out to you. Wow. Congrats. So that's so cool. Sorry guys, I stopped looking at the chat. I'm looking at y'all, your messages. I'm sorry, I'll come back and read through all this. Maybe kicking you off here. You're getting tired. Yeah, I know I am getting tired. I will end it here. But now that I'm seeing everybody's comments, I know, John, you and I have chatted about stuff about life a whole lot. But, you know, yeah, John, you've been through hell too, man, with loved ones, with your wife and everything. Mick C, P90, sober now, but I love research, and I couldn't find anything deep on aquariums because when I get into a hobby, I dive into it, and I super appreciate your style of videos. I love how you mix so many. I have you on mix all. Oh, thank you so much. I really do. I do appreciate that. Yeah, I do, because that's the idea behind the channel. And like when I talk to you guys and remember that, like, I have a goddamn community here. I love you guys, and we have people on the right, on the left, young, old, sober, religious, complete degenerates, and I say that in the best way possible, that are frying their brains all day, every day. Like, if that works for you, great. If the people around you don't care about like that, I feel like that's you, and what. I don't care. I'm like the person who cares the least about how people want to live their lives, if it's working for everyone in the situation as a whole. I think a lot of people are reluctant to see, though. They think, oh, it's fine that I just smoke herb every day or whatever. And it might be. Like, I honestly wouldn't care if most of the people in my life did. Most people in my life, though, there's a few who do it every single day, all day, and that's actually a good thing. I think it's better than some of the psych meds I've seen them on, like really ADD people or things like that, people with pain. Like, if that's how they want to deal with it, more power to them. But I also think that a lot of people think like it doesn't hurt anyone, and some people are like, man, I wish we didn't have to sit and they had to like roll a joint or do this thing, do this ritual, risk getting arrested if you're in a state where that's a thing, or you go on vacation. It's like, well, it's a stress for the family. You may not think about it. You may just think, oh, no big deal, I'll just hide them in my suitcase or whatever. But it may be for your spouse or your kid or your parent or whatever. They may be thinking like, oh, are they going to go to prison and ruin their whole career? Are they going to get something laced, whatever it may be? Like, you're impacting others with what you do in ways you may not expect. And my parents always told me, like, we just worry you're going to get something bad on the streets. They're like, we think you do your research or whatever. And even when it was pharmaceutical stuff, they were that was their concern, was just like, what if you mix it, or what if there's a bad pill that the factory made wrong? Even they were concerned about that kind of thing. So it doesn't matter like how controlled you think the situation is, like that was and they didn't know the whole of it either, obviously. But I hurt them. I caused them hours and hours of needless worry and also pain. And so I feel bad for that, and I must atone for that. And that's also like why I want to atone for other things I've done by teaching and by, trying to stay engaged in things. And I'm just trying to be honest with you guys and have this conversation also to tell you that, like, guys, I've been dragging for a while now. I keep trying to like keep running back into the fight, and then something will come up, like health wise. But I do have this whole trove of content that will be coming out at some point. And that's how my mind works a lot of times, is you see a video. Well, it actually came out in my head. I did all the research 2 years ago for it. And it's just, I was waiting for something exciting to spark that, like, oh, I really want to talk about this now, or it connects to something we just talked about on the channel. And sometimes that's firing like this. And I just like, and it's one thing after another. Lately though, it feels like I have all these like, oh yeah, I do want to talk about that eventually. And I just don't feel the urgency. I don't feel like, it feels like the house is burnt down and I'm standing in the ashes. And I'm like, which pile of charcoal should I clean up first? None. I mean, anything's a good start, I guess, but it's all effed. It's all burnt down. Like, this all sucks. That's a little over dramatic, but it's kind of a feeling between that and, like I said earlier, I have had this general feeling in life, not just with the channel, not just with content, not with just aquariums, but I feel like someone was supposed to be here a half hour ago, and they're supposed to pick me up and take me to an appointment for the doctor. And if I miss the appointment, I'm not going to get in with the specialist, or I'm not going to, whatever, or an appointment with the DMV, or some important appointment, maybe with your boss, or review of the year, your year-long performance review. And you're late to that appointment. There's no phone in sight to call or let anyone know, and you're waiting on a ride, and you're just kind of like feeling this like, I can't do anything about it. I guess I should just sit down, or should I start walking? Maybe I'll start walking, And other than doing something really drastic, like starting walking, which I don't know what the equivalent of that would be in life, I wake up feeling that way a lot lately. That like I'm waiting for something really bad to happen, or I'm just waiting for the time when I'll know it's right to say, all right, now it's like, it's been bad, but now it's like a crisis and we have to do X, Y, or Z. Same with like, money and budgeting. And I think there's just so many pressures in life right now for everyone that feels, and more for others, of course, like if you got health things, if you got little kids, if you got, retirement, whatever it may be, lots of things cause different stress for different people. But it's been, especially when you're cognitively already like having a tough time and fading a lot of days and stuff. It's a weird feeling, and I don't know, like, just doing something is obviously what you got to do. And I do that, and I like put all these beautiful fish pictures, and I gather or Photoshop pictures, like charts and infographics that I know will be in the video when I make one on Pseudomagil luminatus, which I've been meaning to remake that video for 9 years or something, 8 years. But there's something I just haven't pulled it all together yet. But I know I'll go through a phase soon again, as I always have in life, where I pull it together. Jan, thank you so much for I did see the super chat. I wanted to just say that I did see that. I really do appreciate that so much. That's very, very, very kind of you. As above and beyond, I appreciate you for so much, but I mean, thank you. You always have been so supportive and kind. It really does make a difference, and it really does shape the wanting to be here and wanting to keep learning when I'm not actively on a live stream. You know, when I'm just flipping through a magazine or reading online, I think about like, oh, you know, who was just talking about that? Fish Dad just mentioned this, or Ollie the pufferfish just mentioned that she has this or that fish, and then someone said, oh, they had that. Yeah, so we should talk about that. You know, so I just thank you for being so active and such a part of the community. I really do appreciate that. Also, I saw another super chat too. Lady New Gradia, thank you so much. That is very, very generous as well. Thank you. Super chat, I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Someone that I used to know. Call me out. Dagmar, yeah, and I always, you know, speaking of another person I appreciate, there's so many of you that I really love that are in the chats here when we do live streams. But this gal in particular sends me, you know, just funny or interesting articles a lot, and I very much so appreciate that, especially if it's stuff that others in the community might like. Nice. Roland or Ronaldo or Rolando. I understand that big time though. Like not doing it day by day, hour by hour. Sometimes you got to just take it moment by moment, you know. And if you do that long enough, you stop worrying about it at all. So, you know, like some people, it eats them alive to do it that way, where they're thinking about, well, I'm not drinking right now, so I'm sober, I'm good to go. Other people need to think about like just another hour and I'll be good. And then when that next hour comes, then you worry about the next hour, you know, and it's just one chunk of life at a time. And honestly, if you're not doing it right, it will feel like I've just described I've felt lately, which is waiting for someone to pick me up for an important event that I need to get to and I have no control over if I miss or how late I'm to, and hoping that my profuse apologies to the judge or to the doctor or whatever is what gets me through this, but not knowing if my friend's even going to come pick me up or if the bus is even going to come. That feeling of hanging, just being left hanging there and awaiting the universe or luck or someone else's choices and decision making, having such control over your life, day, whatever, it can feel like that with a lot of sobriety and stuff too. If you're living every day as like, I just got to make it till tomorrow, and you're literally holding on like, well, tomorrow I will have a drink, you know. So I hope it's an easy, living a day at a time, so you don't have to leave any days at a time, and you just look back and think, dang, it's been a year since I did that. For me, really, I knew with alcohol, like there was no for me, there was nothing that I had done things. I'd crash my car into a ditch on Ambien when I was drinking, and Ambien was prescribed to me, but I'd taken it after never having taken before. I took one of those, and then apparently I took 3 more after I went to bed, and then somebody called me to come to a party, and we'd already been at a party earlier in that night, and I don't even know why I took a sleeping pill, because I had probably been drinking. I probably would have fallen asleep, and this is 22 years ago or something like that. But I crashed my car into the ditch at my apartment complex. I didn't even make it out of the apartment complex. I literally pulled out, turned about 90 degrees into a ditch that was 6 feet deep. Whole car goes on its side. And it was so that the driver's side door kept falling closed on me, and the whole car is on its side. Almost, it fell into this super deep ditch. And I took out my own mailbox. And I have a cop shining a flashlight on me, and it's pouring rain, and it's like 1 in the morning on a Tuesday. And he's like, "Where are you going?" And I'm like, I don't know. My car rolled back, I think. I don't know. And luckily somehow I didn't get in trouble for that. Maybe because it was on the same property that it started on and everything, and I didn't hit anybody. But luckily I didn't die or hurt someone, obviously. But yeah, that was a really, really weird situation. And alcohol, if the alcohol hadn't been involved, I don't know if the Ambien would have still done it to me anyways. And that was just that's a weird medication. But yeah, when I quit, it was like I'd had enough moments that weren't good. They weren't necessarily like, "Oh man, you got a problem and it's going to ruin your life" or anything. But they were just, yeah, that was bad, and I got away with it, and it could have gone a lot worse. And then I had lost friends to drunk driving, and I'd lost 2 friends to alcohol poisoning or to drinking and then taking other medication with it and then dying. And so for me, I just ended up kind of looking around one day and being like, and it was young, I was only 21, and I was like, I need to quit. I'm getting straight A's. I'm getting I'm finishing my master's thesis in archaeology, and I like, my professors like to drink with me after we, finish up in the lab. We go drink after work or whatever. But I can put back a whole bottle and not be hungover the next day, and that's a problem. That it's every night. That's just how the night ended. Was a whole lot of something. And every social event was always, "Oh, let's go hiking." Okay, well, we'll put a pint in the pack too, or in my cargo shorts or whatever. And so one day, yeah, I just right around my 21st birthday was the first real, like, you know what, I don't need this. And so I said, I don't want to go anywhere for my 21st birthday. I drank a few more weekends after that. And then after that, there was no great goodbye. There was no great send off like a lot of people tried to do. I just said, I'm done. I'm over it. I'm tired of it. It's expensive. It's killing my body, I'm sure. And I went to the doctor after that, and I got a full physical, and I thought, I'm hosed. I've been drinking since I was 15 like a fish, drinking 1 liter to 2 liters every single day, of hard alcohol. And luckily I escaped that. And then I proceeded to just switch to what the doctors gave me, and then went down that dark trail for another 6 or 7 years before I broke free of that. And aquariums and nature is are what broke me free. Then the lightning happens, and you guys have seen other videos that cover all that. But I figured I'd share all that while I was spilling my guts. Ooh, guts. Also, USMC, thank you very much. Lots of friends here now. Love it. Love you too. I love you too. Thank you so much. That's really sweet. Yeah, I really do appreciate how we can all connect and connect through the other stuff too. Like, nobody has to be a former addict or someone who's got chronic pain or chronic disease. But a lot of us in the community have one of those things, and almost everyone has someone in the family with one of those things. So it is a real part of what becomes part of the hobby, the community, our lives. And for me, I have to have that stuff in order before I can focus on the aquariums. But a lot of times having the aquariums here and nice looking and fun, or, ready to go stare at, is something important too. And I do feel weird, like the fact that I don't have 34 aquariums. Now I have only 6 aquariums in the fish room, and I only have 3 in the rest of the house and the ponds in the backyard. But compared to 34, I'm down to 6. And I've given away or sold a lot of fish. And I hope that I'll go back up again. But I'm hoping that now we can do more of like research paper, interviewing, ichthyologists, going on location collecting. I'm hoping that the rest of this year and into 2027, that the channel can kind of reach its final form of kind of being like an archive, also trying to get all the old ichthyologists or club members' stories and interviews is another thing that I've been thinking about, kind of pivoting towards trying to focus on. So, but also, you know, the deep dives are always good, but I don't know what will hold everyone's attention the best when. But at some point, I won't care, and it's just stuff I want to do. I care about for the hobby and for the sake of getting it done because I'm passionate about this thing. But all right, you guys. Well, I appreciate y'all for coming here and spending some time with me, chatting. I said it right in the title of today's episode. I cannot promise fish will even be talked about. But we did talk about what the next hot fish was. So, which I think some of those morphs of the Hillstream loaches are pretty freaking fire. Also, the quarry Rio Tomo concolor, or the half and half Corydoras, that is that beautiful like yellow with the metallic bluish silver dark front. So cool. You're a fish, so the topic was still fish. Technically, yeah, you know, you can argue anything's a fish pretty much. Any higher order organism is a fish. I should take it's actually time to take my antibiotics. My third of the day. There's 4 in a day of this one I'm on. Also, my voice is just shot. So, guys, I'm gonna call it right at the 3-hour mark here, and we're all fish down here. And yeah, shout out to Sumi, wherever that lazy cat is. I'm probably laying in it's not even sunny out. It's gloomy today. But you guys, I appreciate all of y'all, and thank you so much. Definitely I'll be back around hopefully Friday, maybe the day after if I'm not feeling up to it that day. But I'm out of here. Luke, sorry, man. We'll talk soon. You always get here right when I'm wrapping it up. And I even started earlier today thinking, oh, I'll get a different crowd slightly than when I start at 4:30, you know. But also, I thought the internet would hold up better because it's been acting really slow. All right, you guys. Yeah, hit that like button on the way out if you haven't yet. I appreciate it. And everybody have a wonderful time. If you're restocking your tanks, use the savings codes we have. Also, Imperial Tropicals had some pretty cool fish they were showing on their website and their live stream earlier today. Might be worth checking out. If you're loaded, if you're one of them money people. All right, guys. Have a good one. Oh, man. Okay, Luke. Thanks, man. It's always good to hear from you. I do need to call you back, and we need to catch up as always. It's always my fault. Chevy, thank you. And yes, I need to call the wifey back as we speak right now. All right, guys. Much love. And take me to the pilot of your soul. Take me to the pilot. I'm a stranger. Na 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 na.